the Pioneer viewers, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to share with you the developments regarding Russia and Ukraine war. Next, we will share with you an incredible development from the front line. As it is known, one of the points where the Russian army is in a difficult situation is the Kherson front line. And this front line is important because on the Kherson front line there is a road to reach the main targets of the Ukrainian armed forces. The Crimean peninsula is the main target of the Ukrainian armed forces. Therefore, Russian troops here are under intense pressure. Of course, can be right a lot of analysis about the importance of this region, but today we will share with you an incredible event that happened recently. As it is known, there are many sabotage groups in the Crimean peninsula. Sabotage groups have carried out successful operations many times so far, and as a result of this operation, the Russian armed forces suffered heavy losses. In the past days, the information that a group of Russian soldiers disappeared was shared with the public by the sabotage groups in the Crimean peninsula. So what are the latest developments on this issue? Let's take a look together. So, as the Pioneer team, we continue to share our report on Russia-Ukraine war with you. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily reports. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Thank you for your support. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. So the war between Russia and Ukraine continues to rage, and thanks to the epic resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces, the Russian armed forces have still not reached their targets in the war, which has left 2 years behind. Therefore, according to the allegations, a large part of the Russian soldiers have started to face psychological problems. Of course, this situation led to growth and further increase of the problems of the Russian armed forces. So in recent days, there have allegedly been large and mass desertions of the Russian soldiers. As I've shared with you in our previous reports, the Russian armed forces have witnessed many desertions of the Russian soldiers, tired of the condition and the circumstances on the front line, overwhelmed by the behavior of the Russian commanders, facing psychological problems due to the problems on the front line. Russian soldiers have deserted from the front line many times, and of course this desertion may seem simple. However, considering the situation in Russia, such incidents are even greater importance. Desertion cases in the Russian armed forces seem to have increased considerably in recent days, and this is also evident in the most reports published by local sources. When we look at the latest reports, there are data on the desertion of a large number of Russian soldiers in recent days, especially on the Donetsk front line and the Kherson front line. There is a general problem in these regions. The superiority established by the Ukrainian armed forces through drones and missile strikes severely affected the situation of the Russian soldiers in these regions. Of course, the situation is an important factor in the desertion of the Russian soldiers, especially the destruction of convoys coming to support Russian soldiers has an important role in this regard. In recent days, the Sabotage partisan groups working on the Crimean peninsula shared an incredible information with the public. According to this information from the Sabotage partisan groups, Russian soldiers serving on the Kherson front line were massively fleeing from the front line. Moreover, according to the claims of the Sabotage partisan groups, the management of the Russian armed forces had taken action to prevent this desertion. So, however, these measures did not work because Russian soldiers were still fleeing from the front line in large groups, leaving their weapons, and the Sabotage partisan groups made the following statements on the subject. So, Russian soldiers are disappearing en masse in the Kherson region. According to the official reports received by the Dnieper group of the Russian armed forces, we've learned that the orcs refused to fulfill their combat missions and deliberately abandoned their temporary deployment. It is noteworthy that some of those officially identified in the newspapers, such were later found in the occupied territory of the Kherson region. Our agents also noted the arrival of the large number of occupation army personnel in Novoletsivka. These soldiers are found in empty, abandoned house. Most of them have multiple tattoos on their bodies. Local residents believe that they are former prisoners, and the Russian Guard was instructed to appear. Ukrainian partisans who pass on the information about the location of the Russian occupation forces personnel. If you know where the Russian occupation army has placed its personnel, please let us know. Together we will drive the Russian horde out of Ukraine. So, as can be seen from these statements, the Ukrainian battle line has turned into a major disaster for the Russian troops. As can be understood from this report, escaping from the front line seems to be most logical option for the soldiers serving in the Russian armed forces. So, we can mention that the Russian soldiers should maintain secrecy during these desertions, because the attitude of the Russian armed forces management on the desertion is quite clear. The Russian war leadership has even taken measures to prevent the desertion of the Russian soldiers. However, it seems that the Russian soldiers don't apply these desertion rules very much, and for this reason, the desertion of the Russian soldiers are noticed by the Ukrainian partisan groups. So, the growing problems affected and faced by the Russian armed forces are very important for the front line. This situation, which leads to a significant reduction in the number of the Russian soldiers on the front line, makes the work of the Ukrainian armed forces a little bit easier. And it should be also considered from this point of view. The Ukrainian armed forces are experiencing a significant moral boost thanks to the desertion of the Russian soldiers, and this further strengthens the already strong Ukrainian resistance. So, according to the claims of some experts, they may be an operation of the Sabotage partisan groups against the fleeing Russian soldiers. There are already similar discourses expressing this situation in the statements made by the group. A move by Sabotage partisan groups against these Russian soldiers will put the Ukrainian armed forces in an advantageous position on the front line. This operation will probably pave the way for the Ukrainian armed forces to negotiate more prisoner swap. The unnoticed decisions taken by the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the Russian war leadership seem to have put the Russian armed forces in a very difficult situation on the front line. The strangest thing is that the Russian armed forces still don't realize this. According to reports, many soldiers in the Russian armed forces are uncomfortable with the developments. Let's see what this situation will lead to the incoming days. So, what do you think? Do you think the Ukrainian armed forces can advance on the Kherson front line? What do you think about the desertion of the Russian soldiers? And do you think Ukrainian partisan groups can organize an operation against desertion Russian soldiers? Do you think there will be an increase in the desertions of the Russian soldiers? Let me know in the comments, because I read and I care about all of your comments.